Was Korea a war without winners? You've already carried out a few initial essays in your AS American Policy in Asia AS course, and you're getting your feedback on what it is that you're doing right and what it is that you need to improve on. Obviously, you need to balance your understanding of the knowledge with the skills required in order to answer effectively an AS style essay. Now, for many of you, as we move on to this next essay, was the Korean War a war without winners? You're going to need to think about how you can really par back on what you put into your introduction and make it briefer, but still containing those three key elements of an AS level essay. That is historical context, a plan, and an argument. So what we're going to be looking at here is the planning that you're putting into place for writing your actual introduction. The Korean War of 1950 to 53, there's our context, remarkably brief, ends at essentially the status quo that existed prior to the war. As we know, it starts on the 38th parallel, ends on the 38th parallel. In this essay, I will determine the winners and losers of the war by balancing the key protagonists' aims with the eventual outcomes to determine the hierarchy of victors and losers. So in here, we've got the entire plan and the entire process. In this essay, I will determine the winners and the losers. Was the Korean War a war without winners? Of the war by balancing the key protagonists, which countries were the key countries involved, the aims that they sought to achieve, and the outcomes they ended up with. So it's almost like a scientific method to saying how I'm going to analyze, not storytell, analyze this particular question to determine a hierarchy of victors and losers. So I will rank the countries from the biggest winner to the biggest loser. The key belligerents were, well, let's be thinking, 4, 5, 6, how many can we cover in the 45 minutes that we've got to talk about? You need to have that in your planning, because obviously what you say you do in the introduction is what you should talk about in the main part of your essay and what you should conclude that you say that you've talked about in the conclusion. So, your 4 countries in here. Now, by all means, look at the exemplar essay that's been provided along with this to get an idea of what one previous student thought that the 4 main countries involved were. And then take a look at each one of them in turn with the pros and the cons. How did they win? How did they lose? How much of what they initially sought to get did they achieve? What didn't they get that they achieved? And logically, you would then start off with the biggest winner down to the least effective country in terms of getting its gains. And overall, I fear that the nearest thing to a winner in a war without real winners was which country and because. So our introduction, saying what we're going to do, the context, the plan for answering the question, the plan of analytical attack, articulating that plan. This is what I understand by the question. This is what I'm going to talk about. These are the parts that are going to construct my essay out of. This is the case that I'm going to argue. Then off you go and do it.